All right, so we're setting up the string alignment kit from Smart Racing Products. Currently, I'm setting up the front bar. This is a bar with a bunch of machined rings. These rings are where we're gonna put the strings. The most important thing is that the front and rear bar have the strings positioned at the exact same width so that when we create our two parallel lines, the only thing that really matters is that the front and rear bar are relatively square as you can get them, and that the width of the strings is the exact same, front and back. We're gonna create two parallel lines measuring from the center of the hub to the string. That's how we're going to position the strings. So it's gonna take a bit of a team effort, and if you did it by yourself, you'd have to go back and forth quite a few times to get it perfect. But basically how this goes on, all I did was measure the height of the wheel, which is roughly 13 inches to the middle. And then I put these at roughly 13 inches from the floor. So once I get my rear set up, that's the only thing that really matters. The height needs to be pretty close. These need to be fixated to the car. The way these work is really easy. There's no particular way. I could have put this on in probably 50 different ways. But basically it just has a hook that grabs the body somewhere, and then all these points are adjustable. Like I was saying, it's not as critical as you think for these being exactly the same. The most important thing is the width of the string. So I'll do the rear. You can see how I kind of play with it in fast speed because it sometimes takes a while. And then Kyle and I will start running the strings and centering the setup.
Keep going, stop. That's good.
As I said, this contraption doesn't matter nearly as much as the strings simply being parallel to the chassis from the center of the hubs. Now that we've done that, we can go ahead and do the basic toe. So front of the tire, rear of the tire to the string, and that'll align the car to the chassis. You can notice we have bags under the wheels. These bags actually just has some soap and water solution. Immediately once you roll the car over top of bags, before you probably couldn't turn the wheel to full lock, and then with the bags, it's really quite effortless to turn the wheel to lock. So this is gonna help get rid of the friction while we're making adjustments so that it doesn't get bound up. Because with this setup, because these mount to the frame of the car, we can roll the car back and forth to keep checking the alignment. Whereas if you've seen people that set up a string alignment setup on jack stands with bars, you can do that, but then you can't really roll the car to settle the alignment after making changes because the jack stands are on the ground, the car is on the ground, and you're probably gonna run into the jack stands if you try to move it. And the car's probably gonna walk away from where it was. So that's why this works so well, because it's all aligned to the car itself. Kyle and I can push this all the way out the door, and this will probably be, I'm not gonna say it's gonna be the exact same, but it's gonna be close. So from here, it's really simple, a little bit of math and some measurements, taking some notes, and we're gonna get this car dead straight. Another tip is set the pressures to what you plan on running the car at, and also make sure the ride height is set to what you are gonna be running this car at. Ride height changes a lot of things, especially like bump steer and stuff. Some guys are running a lot of toe gain or bump steer in the rear of the car. If you do an alignment and then you change the ride height, your toe is going to be all out of whack. Make sure you do those things first before doing this, because this takes a while to do and you don't want to have to do it again after.
I got 44 millimeters, writing that down. 64 millimeters.
Yeah, I got 48 on the back, 63 on the front.
You got a lot
towed in a lot.
Set up for FD.
Okay, another tip when doing this is you want to make sure that you have your camber set before you do your toe alignment. The reason for this is if you change the camber of the wheel any amount, it's going to actually pull on the toe arm and change your toe. And when I say toe arm, I mean toe arm for the rear, tie rod in the front, same thing. On a Corvette, you have an upper ball joint, lower ball joint, and then the tie rod is located basically in the middle of the knuckle. So this would change the toe dramatically if you were to do your camber afterwards, whereas a 240, for example, has the control arm and the tie rod mounted almost on the same plane, and then it's a McPherson strut. So that car, there actually wouldn't be that much toe change if you needed to change the camber, but it would still change minusculely. So either way, set your camber before your toe. That's gonna have the least amount of change while doing your alignment. Ready? Yeah. That's 52, 52. That's good.
Good.
That's it on this Tip Tuesday. We didn't really show you how to do an alignment, but we did show you a couple tricks on when you're using a kit like this. Another one is to make sure that you have 2 rulers. They work better than a tape measure because they're just easier to hold, nicer to push against the wheel to make sure that you have even pressure. And then also make sure that when you're lining them up, they are exactly the same. Even though these are 2 different brands, obviously, they are exactly identical from the end. We actually had one that was off by about 2 millimeters because the 0 line didn't start at the base. So the 0 line on this actually doesn't start until here. So when you go all the way out 210, you can see the 210 and the 210 are actually way off of each other. Essentially 2 to 3 millimeters off when we were using this, and then we cross-referenced our measurements and realized something wasn't right, and that was it right there. So pay attention to that, make sure that your rulers line up, and that's pretty much all the tips I have. Of course, there's a couple other things, and of course, every car is different. The Corvettes are really linear when adjusting toe because of the way the ball joints are. When I change the toe, I'm really only changing the toe. But if you have a rear multi-link like a E80 or E90 or Genesis or something that's got like 5 control arms in the back, when you adjust toe, you're adjusting other things as well. There's a lot of compliance, there's a lot of different things going on in the back of those cars. So each car is going to be very different, unfortunately. Lucky for us, the Corvette's one of the easiest, and that's all I got for you. See you in the next one.